how does the astrology show the base cratering? Where do you look for a base in an astrology chart? If you look at a natural zodiac chart with Aries rising, the base is in the place of Cancer, ruled by the moon, and this encompasses early upbringing, home and family, and it's basically where you come from, what supports you. Although, of course, it becomes also your psychological base. The way you operate in the world, this is the underpinning. And any other such thing in your life that has that kind of support for you overtly, like something in business or something in any sphere of your life. In his case, it's pretty obvious that his base is that 30% of Republicans, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, that express undying loyalty to him. And when you look at his chart for the fourth house, you see a Scorpio. No planets there, but the ruler is Mars. Co-ruler, or call it an associate ruler, would be Pluto. So you look at those two planets. And one of them, I mean, it's blatantly obvious. The transiting Mars right now is squaring some of his key planets, Sun, Moon, Uranus, the Uranus more recently. Now, as we speak, it's hitting on his moon. It'll later, toward the weekend, square Sun. This is why this is happening in this way. They're very upset. And what are they upset about? They're upset about the release of the Epstein files, which, by the way, I would suggest to the Trumpers, if they want to really get at it, you tighten the message and you stop saying release the Epstein files. You say release the names of the people that were involved in sex trafficking and sex with underage women, underage girls. This is the key. This is what he's doing. He's basically refusing to let that out. Now, of course, it's pretty obvious that odds are really high that he himself is involved, because if you know the way this guy works, you've seen him over the last decade, he could care less about anyone else. He'll throw anyone under the bus. So if he thought that by releasing the names of people that were involved, except for him, he would do it at a moment's notice to save himself. But he probably can't do that. So he has a problem. Now, we're in the astrology. How do we now extrapolate this into the bigger problem? So right now it's the Mars. Mars is pretty quick. It'll move through there July and into August, first part of August, a little less troublesome. Then it becomes troublesome again, because Libra is another problem sign for him. Mid-August into September, it's problematic. But Mars moves too quickly to really do the heavy damage. For that, you need the slower moving planets, and you need to keep the issue alive. Now, this, of course, is something that is left primarily for Democrats to do. I mean, it's possible that his base will continue to agitate about it, but you can't count on that. You have to get on board and have Democrats use the messaging. This I'll cover in my next video, because I think there is a really good strategy that could work very well. And I'm saying it as a suggestion, but I have a suspicion this is exactly what they're going to do, the Democrats, that is, in order to profit from all this. But back to the astrology. So right now it's the Mars. The problem for the president is that we see future cycles that are very, very problematic. So right now Saturn is in Aries, and already, even just in the early degrees and not connecting to any planet with any intensity of degree closeness, even so, it is in the ninth. And so one of the meanings of the ninth, among quite a few, such as things like international affairs, legal issues. It's also a primary legal, or pardon me, news and media site. Right? That's where you publish. So that house connects to that. He is pretty obviously in a struggle with information flow at the moment. Yes, he does have some support in different places, but not only are what he calls the fake news, the mainstream media, constantly pointing out the truth of what is happening, even among his base, on many, many channels, social media channels, they're pointing out the hypocrisy. So he's having problems just by the planet being there without locking into degrees that connected to planets. But as we move into the later months of the year, and especially next year, then Saturn connects with planets. And once you realize that house is also ruled by Mars, because Mars rules Scorpio, therefore it's his base, but it rules the ninth as well. So it implicates the base, channeled through the Saturn, and causing him grave problems in 2026, an election year, which is the last thing that he needs. Right? Now the thing is that Saturn at birth lives in the 12th. And so comes around, makes the square. What is the 12th? Again, among quite a few meanings, for him, the key problem meaning is that the 12th is where your dirty deeds, your secrets, the things that, as is traditionally said, of the 12th house in astrology, is the house of self-undoing, something that you've done, which now becomes a karmic factor, which punishes you in the cycles. Well, that Saturn is a huge problem in 2026 as it barrels its way to the middle of the sign, comes back and does kind of a dead stop in the vicinity of the square to his Mercury. And here is where you then realize, okay, sitting there, what is the Mercury? Well, Mercury rules Gemini, but Mercury is also the planetary ruler of his 11th sign. The 11th sign is Gemini. The 11th sign, just like if you say the 4th is the psychological base, you tie it to that, strong support, the super loyal people. The 11th has those connotations as well, because the 11th is the house of groups. It's literally that mob that follows you. It's his people, his crowd. So that again implicates the problem. And so to me, what is most important about what we're seeing now is what it implies for the future. But I'll tell you, probably even more important is what do Democrats do with this, because here's where I have to disagree with Nancy Pelosi. Not long ago, she said, oh, this Epstein thing is a distraction. We should be focusing on, more kitchen table issues, all that kind of stuff. Not true. This is a very useful form of messaging. Besides which, it's also true that this man is almost certainly implicated in the problem. Why else would he be so adamant about stopping the release? So, for both reasons, for practical political reasons, and because it's completely true, I think it's a key issue. But once again, everything that is happening now is almost certainly to mean something important later in the cycle. Right now, it's just a great way to cause him extreme heartburn and inflict pretty serious damage and start the process of the massive cratering that we need in order to get to the goal.